We are now joined by Dr. Tetsuji Tanaka. He's a special advisor to the President of the Republic of Kyrgyz, and he also serves as economic advisor for Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan.
Dr. Tanaka, thank you very much for coming to Asia Weekly.
With pleasure.
Well, Dr. Tanaka, first of all, could you tell us about what distinguished the domestic politics in Uzbekistan from those of other Central Asian countries?
Historically speaking, the independence of the Central Asian countries in 1991 was attributed to a self-destruction of all the USSR regime and was not accompanied by a significant political change such as revolution or independent struggle or independent war. And this enabled, if at least superficially, the political leaders of the pre-independence era to remain in the leading position in the newly created national system, top of the new government. For example, president of these newly born countries were, except for President Akayev of Kyrgyz Republic, represented by the top leaders of the communist parties in the former USSR republics. In this context, President Karimov of Uzbekistan also used to be the first secretary of the former Republic's Communist Party. Yeah.
Now, President Karimov was re-elected in a sweeping victory in January 9th presidential election. He took more than 90% of the votes. But there are some critical views to his authoritarian rule. Dr. Tanaka, do you think the election was conducted in a fair manner, and do you think it reflects the interests of Uzbek people?
The presidential election of January 9th was not an election in the real sense, but it was rather a vote of confidence, since President Karimov was not contended by any one influential person. According to the Uzbekistan government, the voting ratio was 95.1%, and President Karimov gained 91.95% of it. So it was an overwhelming victory. And he had committed to the political and economic liberalization and promotion of reform in his pre-election days. Now that he got victory and his government was guaranteed until 2005, to continue to 2005, it can be said that the underlying ground had been laid down to actually implement his commitment. Yeah.
And President Karimov has promised to promote reform and liberalization of the country's politics and economy. And I'd like you to talk about the tasks lying ahead for Mr. Karimov. And can you begin with the political issues?
Politically, I think that further promotion of democratization and liberalization is crucial. But at the same time, it is important to nurture an open-minded and knowledgeable young bureaucrat to support it. When market is underdeveloped and capital accumulation is not sufficient, dictatorship for economic development can be accepted to a certain degree, but this does not justify the continuation of political leadership.
Now, how is President Karimov going to deal with Islamic opposition camp?
In Uzbekistan, with the active Islamic movement and the revival of regionalism and tribalism, we call this Mahala. There have been arising various social problems. The recent incident of Japanese hostage in Kyrgyz Republic is one of them, anyway. Against this background, rapid liberalization is becoming all the more difficult, and it is therefore more necessary to promote progressively democratization and economic development, while continuing to make effort to make compromise with the Islamic law and Mahala movement also.
And since the independence from the Soviet Union, some Central Asian countries have been suffering from economic difficulties. And how about Uzbekistan?
So, looking at the present economic situation, Uzbekistan has shown the best performance among the CIS countries that became independent of former USSR. That performance is largely attributed to the policy of a gradual transition to the market economy and its rich endowment of such export products such as cotton, gold, and uranium, as well as to the success in achieving self-sufficiency in oil and gas. In 1998, its GDP output recovered to the level of pre-independence. This is the first case among the CIS countries and can be highly appreciated. And in this sense, the strong leadership of President Karimov also should be appreciated. However, its major export products such as cotton, gold, and oil subject to the high volatility of the international market price. And it is important to foster higher value-added industries using these materials and machinery, electronic, and food processing industries also. Yeah.
Well, during the election campaign, Mr. Karimov has pressed for economic reforms within a framework of a planned economy. Dr. Tanaka, could you explain President Karimov's economic policies?
Yeah. As it has pursued its economic development policy independently of the IMF, it has kept some antagonistic relationship with the IMF. It should improve the relationship and promote to take such policies as number one, the deregulation of foreign exchange control. The second, unification of multiple foreign exchange rates. For example, as of January 18th, central bank rate is $1 is equivalent 141 sum. Sum is a currency unit of Uzbekistan. And black market rate, $1 equivalent 810 sum. They have a big difference. The third one is acceptance of Article 8 status of the IMF. And President Karimov has committed to complete these policies by the end of this year, to millennium. But it seems that he has been forced to take more time.
And as you mentioned earlier in the interview, Uzbekistan is rich in natural resources, and President Karimov is said to be aiming to attract foreign investment to develop its resources.
Right.
And what countries do you think he has in mind, and what countries do you think have shown interest in developing Uzbekistan resources?
On the whole, foreign projects committed from 1990 to 1999 to 1999 amounted to 150 cases with a total value of about $3 billion. Among them, U.S. accounts for 18% of the total value. Germany 16%, Japan 12%, France 11%, and Korea 9%. About half of them are in the petroleum and gas industry and the chemical industry and the light industry follows. And encouraged by these investments, it has already achieved self-sufficiency in oil and gas. Among the realized investments, Korea's investment in the machinery industry is quite outstanding. It said that one out of three cars that run around in the capital city Tashkent is made by Korea's knockdown production. This is very outstanding phenomenon.
On the cultural front, what do you think can be done to further promote a friendly relationship between Uzbekistan and Japan?
Central Asian countries are in general pro-Japanese, but Uzbekistan, together with the Kyrgyz Republic, is outstanding among them. President Karimov advocates Look East policy of Central Asia, in a sense to learn from Japanese economic development. In order to promote friendly relationships between Uzbekistan and Japan, it is above all necessary to expand the economic cooperation centering on the ODA, Social Development Assistance. In this context, emphasis should be placed on, at first, one, support to its smooth transition to market economy. The second, expansion of infrastructure for transportation. The third, solution of environment problem. And fourth, health care in local area. It is also necessary and highly expected that Japan provide not only fund, but also a large team of technicians who have having industrial technology, the know-how of corporate management, and language teaching, language instruction knowledge. In other area of cooperation, it would also be an important way of strengthening the cooperation to encourage more tourists to visit the inheritance of Timur Empire, such as in Samarkand. It is also important to invite more Uzbekistan students to Japan. And on the Uzbekistan side, it is hoped that they take measures to deregulate the foreign exchange and money transfer control, and to issue visa more flexibly as a precondition to expand the personal exchange.
Well, I hear that Central Asian countries have beautiful places to visit, so I wish I could go someday.
Yeah.
Well, Dr. Tanaka, thank you very much for coming to Asia Weekly this week.
Okay, thank you very much. Very much.
That was Asia Now.